Clark. I'm a Public Affairs Officer of the Dallas VA Medical Center. This is our 12th Veterans Forum, in a little over about 3 years' time, roughly. We're really excited about these historical programs, which are an opportunity to have visitors from the veteran community come in and talk about their historical experiences in the different wars where we've been concentrating on World War II. For obvious reasons, because they're our senior veterans in the community, and we're delighted to have their stories. We have another exciting story of a very illustrious gentleman and his exploits and experiences in World War II as our Medal of Honor recipient. We have a whole lot of different guests today, but I want to introduce a few of our special guests. We just had our annual congressional briefing, and several of our congressional staff members that are representing congressmen took the time to stay with us. And Dodie, move on up a little closer here. We'll try to get you right up there, or right here. Dodie, come on up here. I want you in the second row. Okay. We have several here, and right here, Dodie, right there, next to Charlie. Okay. We have about 10 of them here, and I'm going to ask each of them to stand. I hope I have all the names. I went around the room and tried to find everybody, but we brief the congressmen and staffers once a year. Today was the time at 11:30, and they've been taking tours of our facility, getting to know us, and we thought this would be an excellent additional manner for them to know about our veteran culture. So as I announce your name and the congressman or senator you represent, would you just stand up? And then when all of you are standing, we'd like to recognize your attendance at our function today. Susan Fisher from Congressman Sam Johnson's office. Mickey McGuire. Well, read the problem when everybody's introduced, man. You're in the Army now. Okay. All right, number 2, Mickey McGuire. Okay, I already mentioned it. Pete Sessions' office. Colby Clark and Barbara Luce from Congressman Dick Armey's office. John Gonzalez and Jason Meyer from Senator Graham's office. Marty Shev from Eddie Bernice Johnson's office. Dodie Souter from Congressman Kay Granger's office. Did I miss any congressional staffers? Face the audience, folks. I want you all to recognize them. They do a lot of work for us and for you all, their constituents. All of their congressmen and the senator represented are dedicated to us, and we do a lot of liaison work with them. We're here to support them and to give them the answers that they need to take care of constituent inquiries. And it's really, they take off almost more than half a day today to come and do the staffing briefing and to come into this forum today. So we're delighted to have all of them with us. I'd like to introduce our Director Alan Harper to you at this time to greet you all on our behalf. But before he comes up, I just want to say a couple things. Now, he's a great director, okay? He's one of these directors that we appreciate because he lets us do, what we should do and so forth. But once in a while, he's just not as good a director as he should be. I mean, the last week here we had a couple things that happened. I mean, this is actual from a staff meeting. He says, I don't want any yes men around me. I want everyone to tell me the truth, even though it costs him his job. It's the kind of director he is. And at the staff meetings, he said one time a couple days ago, all those disagreeing with me signifying by saying I quit. With that, I'd like to introduce our illustrious director, Alan Harper.
Thank you, Alan, I think. It is a real pleasure to have you all with us today, and I really think these veteran forums really hit the mark of why we're here, and I really appreciate General Gaylor for taking time to come and be with us and share his experiences with us. I also have a guest that I'd like to recognize, and that's Mr. Tom Stranova, our network director, and we're very pleased to have him with us today. And I say it every time I give a welcome. I just wish Alan Clark had a little passion about this activity, If you can't have any more compassion, then quit, Alan. Again, seriously, I think we ought to give Alan a big round of applause. And with that, I want to turn it back to Alan. Let's get on with the program. Thank you, Alan.
We have another very special guest here who gets the award for traveling the longest to come in to visit us today. He's from San Diego. His name is Jay Vargas. He's going to lead us in our Pledge of Allegiance. But he is one of 6 regional veterans liaison people for the Secretary, Anthony Principi in Washington, D.C., the Secretary of the Cabinet. For the first time, as I can recall, in VA Cabinet history, much less the administration history, Secretary Principi has gotten 6 people in the country, to include Jay, as people that are going to be his kind of eyes and ears, okay, to tell it like it is to him outside the system, you might say, to talk to veterans, to come to the facilities, to talk to veterans, to hear what our budget issues are, to hear what our challenges are, to hear the input from all 3 of our administrations. Jay Vargas is an absolutely outstanding person to be doing this for Secretary Principi. It just so happens that we have the honor today to have a double illustrious opportunity to have 2 Medal of Honor recipients in our presence today. Jay Vargas is a Medal of Honor recipient from the Vietnam War. And I'm going to read his citation, General Gaylor, if I may. Now, I know yours is a little bit shorter, but I guess as the World War II went on and Korean War went on and Vietnam, we became more verbose, okay? Whatever. But this is a really outstanding citation for valor in Vietnam, and I want to read it before Jay comes up here. It takes a minute or so, but it's really worth it to understand the kind of valor and gallantry in action that this gentleman represented and lived to be here today, and with all the other services he provides to veterans. He has a Silver Star also, and he's wounded 5 times. He has 5 Purple Hearts. Place and date: Dai Do, Republic of Vietnam, April 30th to March 3rd, 1968. Citation for the Medal of Honor: for conspicuous gallantry and intrepidity at the risk of his life above and beyond the call of duty while serving as commanding officer, Company G, in action against enemy forces from April 30th to May 2nd, 1968. On May 1st, 1968, though suffering from wounds he had incurred while relocating his unit under heavy enemy fire the preceding day, Major Vargas combined Company G with 2 other companies and led his men in an attack on the fortified village of Dai Co. Exercising expert leadership, he maneuvered his Marines across 700 meters of open rice paddy while under intense enemy mortar, rocket, and artillery fire, and obtained a foothold in 2 hedgerows on the enemy perimeter, only to have elements of his company become pinned down by the intense enemy fire. Leading his reserve platoon to the aid of his beleaguered men, Major Vargas inspired his men to renew their relentless advance while destroying a number of enemy bunkers. Again wounded by grenade fragments, he refused aid as he moved about the hazardous area, reorganizing his unit into a strong defense perimeter at the edge of the village. Shortly after the objective was secured, the enemy commenced a series of counterattacks and probes which lasted throughout the night, but were unsuccessful as the gallant defenders of Company G stood firm in their hard-won enclave. Reinforced the following morning, the Marines launched a renewed assault through Dai Do on the village of Dien To, to which the enemy retaliated with a massive counterattack, resulting in hand-to-hand combat. Major Vargas remained in the open, encouraging and rendering assistance to his Marines when he was hit for the 3rd time in the 3-day battle. Observing his battalion commander sustain a serious wound, he disregarded his excruciating pain, crossed the fire-swept area, and carried his commander to a covered position, then resumed supervising and encouraging his men while simultaneously assisting in organizing the battalion's perimeter defense. His gallant actions uphold the highest tradition of the Marine Corps and the United States Naval Service. We're honored to have Jay also as our guest today. He will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, and it's obvious where the flag is in the room. We honor you, and we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, but obviously also for Jay Vargas.
Thank you. Thank you. Please place your lovely right hand over your wonderful heart. I'm going to do an about face here, and we'll kick it off. And I want to hear that strong voice of yours come out. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
I'm going to switch the agenda just a little bit here. I should have had you continue to stand, but Rita, if you would come up for the rendition of the Star Spangled Banner. Rita McClure is a registered nurse. She's on our staff here at the VA Medical Center. Stand again, please. I'm sorry.
Thank you very much, Mr. Clark. I want to thank everybody for being here today. Every time I'm asked to do this, it's such an honor now, but now it takes on a different perspective because I have a daughter in the Air Force, and she's a second lieutenant in the Air Force. And my dad is a patient here now. He served in 2 services, the Navy and the Army. So thank you all for letting me come and just sing. So. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight over the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming. And the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof to the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave over the land of the free and the home of the brave, the brave, the brave, over the home of the brave.
Thank you. Stand, if you can stand. Stand another second or so here for our invocation. She is an example of not everyone is talented with her gift of a voice and music like that, but an example of the very talented, dedicated people that we have on our staff. Almost 3,000 in number at the VA Medical Center in Bonham and Fort Worth Outpatient Clinic. Our invocation will be given today, led by Lieutenant General Dick Carey, who's a member of our community council. I have several things about him. He told me just before this, says the most important thing is I'm a former enlisted man that made Lieutenant General. And I think that's pretty cool. He's a Korean War Marine infantryman and Marine aviator, General Gaylor, and has a Silver Star and Purple Heart Bronze Star Medal for Valor from the Korean War. In the Vietnam War, he served 3 tours in Nam. He flew choppers, fighters, and attack aircraft with 300 missions in Vietnam, Distinguished Flying Cross, 16 Air Medals, Legion of Merit, retired in 1983. Lieutenant General Dick Carey will lead us in our invocation.
Please bow your heads. Heavenly Father, Grand Architect of the universe, Commander-in-Chief of all forces, active, retired, and veterans, benefactor, healer, guardian, and friend, we ask for your blessing on this day of recognition for our veterans. Be with us, dear Father. Father, we are so grateful to be living in this wonderful country called the United States of America. We are proud to have served in our armed forces. For those of us who had the privilege to bear the title of United States Marine, we thank you. Today our country is again engaged in a war. This is a most difficult war that we must win to protect and maintain our freedom and way of life. We ask for protection of all our servicemen and women who are in harm's way. We ask for wisdom and guidance for our leaders, and especially for our President, George W. Bush. We ask that you also instill the will and fortitude to win in our people. Today we ask for your special help in providing support for this wonderful hospital and all the caregivers that give so willingly of their time and efforts. We ask for your wisdom and understanding for those who are responsible to provide our veterans with the best possible medical care. Give the administrators the knowledge, tools, and understanding needed to accomplish their most important mission. Give our doctors the wisdom and technical skills so essential in healing. Give the nurses and technicians the intelligence, patience, and understanding of their patients. Grant our medical personnel the expertise and judgment to do the right thing at the right time. Continue to give the volunteers who labor so selflessly and cheerfully the willingness to carry on their vital task. We also ask that you bless each veteran patient that is given treatment at this hospital. Help us to be patient, understanding, and ever mindful of the sacrifices that our caregivers make in providing our care. Help us to recognize that given the proper diagnosis and treatment, with your assistance, we will be healed. Grant us the wisdom, understanding, and faith to place our trust in you and those medical personnel who provide for our care. You have assured us, dear Father, that faith is being sure of what we hope for and certain of what we cannot see. We place our faith in you, Heavenly Father. Now, Father, we ask a special blessing on this program, and especially to General Geiler as he relates their experience to us. Make us ever mindful of the sacrifices of those patriots who have gone before us. Help us recognize the lessons that we can learn from the word that has been given to us. Now we commit this program to thee, dear Lord. Give us wisdom and understanding from this presentation. We ask it in the precious name of Jesus. Amen.
Please, sorry. Please be seated. Okay. We have our interviewer today is on our community council also, Dick Agnew. Dick Agnew received the second highest decoration for gallantry in action, the Distinguished Service Cross in the Korean War, and obviously a Purple Heart. He is commander, as I indicated, the North Texas chapter of the Legion of Valor, for which membership you have to have the Medal of Honor or the Distinguished Service Cross, the Navy Cross, or the Air Force Cross. We have one other member of his local chapter that's in the audience today, Dean Datar. Would you stand? Vietnam War Air Force Cross recipient. Dick has just come into our circle of influence and assistance as an outside person, very active in the veteran community on our community council about a month ago. He's already indicated the things that he would like to help us do. We're thinking about next month possibly having a dinner here where we will help raise money for the Circle 10 Boy Scouts Council, and we will try to get an outstanding speaker in. I will just tell you all who we're going to try to get, and we may not be able to. We're going to try to get Dick Winters, who lives in Pennsylvania. He was the star of the HBO miniseries Band of Brothers. We're going to try to find him and get him down here and have him as our guest and have a Veterans Forum. Our next Veterans Forum is February 20th. We're going to have Jim Reed, who's in the audience somewhere here, that's going to speak about the Iwo Jima campaign on February 20th, 2 o'clock in the audience here. Dick Agnew is going to be our interviewer today. He's a very, very close personal friend of General Gayler, our primary guest and our special person of honor today with the Medal of Honor. And I just wanted to indicate to you, now this is obviously a Marine program. You got a Marine General Aviator, you got a Marine General Medal of Honor recipient, another Marine Medal of Honor recipient, but Dick Agnew from the Army and Alan Clark from the Army are kind of sandwiched in between here to keep them under control.
Thank you, Alan. The President of the United States of America, authorized by Act of Congress, March 3rd, 1863, has awarded in the name of the Congress the Medal of Honor to then Major Robert Edward Gayler, United States Marine Corps, for services set forth in the following. The citation reads, then Major Robert Gayler, United States Marine Corps, for conspicuous heroism and courage above the call of duty as leader of a Marine Fighter Squadron 224 in aerial combat with enemy Japanese forces in the Solomon Islands area, leading his squadron repeatedly in daring and aggressive raids against Japanese aerial forces, vastly superior in numbers. Major Gayler availed himself to every favorable attack opportunity, individually shooting down 11 enemy bomber and fighter aircraft over a period of 29 days. Though suffering the extreme physical strain attendant upon protracted fighter operations at an altitude above 25,000 feet, the squadron leader, his zealous and inspiring leadership, shot down a total of 27 Japanese planes. His superb airmanship, his outstanding skill, his personal valor reflect great credit upon then Major Gaylor's gallant fighting spirit and upon the United States Naval Service. Signed, Franklin Delano Roosevelt. Well, General Gaylor has been around a while. He was born in Seattle, Washington, was very active in the Boy Scouts of America as a youngster growing up, entered the University of Washington, graduated from the University of Washington and in 1935. And General Gaylor, I believe it was at this time or shortly thereafter, someone else or somebody or a group of people or yourself was inspired to enter the Marine Corps. Is that correct?
The major in the Naval ROTC unit was recruiting for Quantico, and I was a basketball player. So he was recruiting me to be a Marine. I wanted to be a Marine, but I wanted to be a Marine aviator.
Well, after attending flight school, and that was for a year, and General Gaylor obtained his wings in 1937, and but going back when he received his commission in 1936, after that ceremony, I think the commandant of the Marine Corps students at that time, he asked you a question. Do you remember what he asked you? About what were your plans for, what were you going to do tonight?
I'm not sure about the question.
When the commandant asked you when graduation, he said, what are your plans for this evening?
No, the commandant wasn't there. The commandant wasn't there. It was the admiral at the Naval Air Station at Pensacola.
And I believe he asked you what your plans were for that evening.
No, he asked, this was a little different deal. They had picked me to be a regular and get a commission when I was still an aviation cadet. And the day I got my commission, I thought I was hung out the world. And my senior Marine there asked me what I was doing that night, and I thought I was going to be invited to a party. And I said I didn't have any plans. And he says, good, you're the shore patrol officer.
And that's a very interesting tour, because I asked General Gaylor, how many houses of ill repute did you come upon that evening as shore patrol officer? And I believe the answer was 2. For several years of flying before World War II erupted, General Gaylor had many assignments. He was in the Hawaiian Islands on December 7th, 1941. And about 8 o'clock in the morning on December 7th, 1941, what were you doing?
The morning of December the 7th, a friend of mine, we had visiting a friend who lived in Hawaii, and the three of us were going to play golf in that morning, and we had a Bloody Mary and come out on the lanai, and all of a sudden we started hearing booms, and what's that? And the first airplane went by with a red ball on it, and they said, oh hell, they're bombing us. We grabbed our car and started for the base. The base was at Eva, which is about 3 miles from Pearl Harbor. You had to go around Pearl City to get to it. And as we went around, they were strafing and bombing, and just as we went by Pearl City, they started strafing, and the cars that were coming on the road went every which way, and we went with them and ended up stuck in the mud. I believe a pineapple patch, and had to commandeer a taxi cab to go the rest of the way. And when we got to Eva, the base, every airplane that has been lined up perfectly straight had damaged and were none flyable. And we went through the gate. They issued us a rifle and said, get in with the crew in the pool, swimming pool that was under construction, and fire away. And so we got in 2 or 3 shots with a rifle, and that was my induction to combat.
After the December 7th eruption, General Gaylor squadron was alerted to go to Wake Island. And tell us about Wake Island.
Well, in the interval between Guadalcanal and Wake Island, we up to then the Marines carrier qualified with the Navy landing signal officer, and they were, one day the colonel went over and found out that we were going to re-qualify on a carrier, and then the next time he went over, the admiral says, I didn't say you were going to give you a landing signal officer. And he came back madder than hell, and I was the officer of the day, and he stopped by my desk and said, did I see you standing on the platform on the way out? And I said, yes, sir. And he said, did you know what the LSO was doing? And I said, yes, sir. He said, you're relieved from duty and you'll start field carrier landing practice at 2 o'clock. And I became an LSO automatically. Fortunately, my Navy friend on one of the carriers helped me for the first couple of days. And then my squadron, the squadron I was in, got orders to deploy, and we all went aboard the carrier, and just before midnight they came on and told me to get off, and I said, what in the world did I'm in this squadron and I'm happy. And they said, you're the only spare landing signal officer in the Pacific. And I got off, and the squadron commander said, go back to Eva and take the rear echelon, and I would do it. Well, I was very disappointed. But the designation of the squadron they had not announced was Wake Island. And everybody in the squadron was either killed or captured. So I am the luckiest Marine around.
You certainly are. After that episode, General Gaylor was transferred to the Solomon Islands, specifically Guadalcanal, in August 1942, where he served very admirably up until November with all of his victories. And in 1943, he was flown back to the Oval Office in the White House, and that's when President Roosevelt greeted you and your mother, and what took place there at the White House?
Well, my mother was of the President's party, and you'd think she saw the Pope. She was very enthusiastic, and we enjoyed seeing him, and he was very pleasant. And he presented me with the medal, and we had a real good time.
General Gaylor was shot down 3 times. Twice on Guadalcanal and once in the Korean War. But let's go back to the first time. At that time, Major Gaylor was shot down, and where you landed and what took place after that. The first time you were shot down.
What did you say, the last word?
No, the first time.
Well, the first time I was shot down, I was able to swim ashore, and the Australian coast watchers were looking out for all the pilots. That they did a great job. And I saw 3 natives coming down the beach with a rifle, and I scrambled and got behind a log, and when they came by, they stopped, and I said, "Drop your weapons," and they said, "Me friendly," and didn't drop their weapons. And a few minutes later, I decided they were friendly, and I joined them, and they took me back to their base and in a paddle canoe, and the Marines came over in the amphibious airplane and picked me up and took me back. But the Australian coast watchers had been managers of plantations, and even where the Japs were still based, airplanes and stuff, they were there. And when we would gonna have it attacked, they would call us on the radio and say, 20 fighters and 20 bombers just took off heading your way. And they were really helpful, because that would let us take off and know when they were coming, roughly. And we saved gasoline, which we were very short of, and they rescued practically all the pilots that were shot down. They got us back to base, some of them in a week and some in the same day. And I was fortunate, got back the same day.
Thank you, Bob. And then shortly thereafter, a few months later, he shot down again, and of course they didn't want to lose Major Gaylor, and they were very much concerned. And at that time, somebody said, "Don't worry, he'll show up. He always does," and he did. Then after the war, General Gaylor went through a series of schools, war colleges, staff colleges, advanced training, commanded several units, and then on June 25th, 1950, when the Korean War erupted, what happened then?
Well, before I'll take one short step behind, because I see friends here. When I got the medal, the Washington echelon decided that flying was too dangerous, and they wouldn't give me a flying job. That was very disappointing. And they had a new thing, a 584 radar, and they asked me, and Colonel Keir, my boss, and I, to train 3 groups use of 584 to help defend the islands. So we trained 3 teams, and then when they reported we were trained, they were shipped out on 3 different ships. And a little while later, remember, flying was too dangerous. They told us to go to Ulithi and join Team 1. We went to Ulithi to join Team 1, and and where did they go? We went to Iwo Jima and landed on D-Day. Flying was too dangerous. So we were there when they raised the flag, and it was great. And about 30 days later, they told us to join Team 2. And we caught an airplane and landed behind the lines when Team 2 was coming ashore in the Philippines, and joined them on D-Day and went on into Manila. And set the team up. And about another 30 days, we were told to go back to join Team 3 at Ulithi. Went back to there, went the ship, and where did it go? Okinawa. And we landed on D-Day, which it was for general appearances. Okinawa, we lost more Marines than any other operation in the Pacific. Flying's dangerous. But in Korea, they figured flying wasn't that dangerous, so I got to take a group to Korea. And after about a month fighting in Korea, I got shot down again, and I parachuted. And the Navy came in a helicopter and picked me up and brought me out. And so that was 4 times. And I skipped earlier when the Navy was carrier qualifying me originally. I had an engine failure and put it in the drink. And my son, who that's made 5 times, my son, who is the Air Force pilot, says, "Pop, you're an enemy ace. You lost 5.
After that, General Gaylor went on to some more schools and ended up in the Washington area, heading up aerospace departments, and retired for the Marine Corps. You were in from 1935 to 1957? 35 to 57? You were in the Marine Corps?
Yes.
35 to 57. Then he went on to become Vice President of Engineering for LTV and numerous other things, and now he's just a happily married, retired United States Marine Corps Naval Aviator. We thank you very much.
You want to say anything else? We have more time today than, please be seated. We have more time today than we usually have for Q&A. And so we'll open it up to questions and answers. There's a mic right there. If you're up front and I can hear you, I'll repeat the question. As far as any questions you'd like to ask General Gaylor, come up to the mic if you're in the back, or if I can see you here and read lips, I'll take it from up here. Yes, sir.
Bob, how about relating to us your most challenging shoot down of an enemy plane?
The most challenging shoot down
Of an enemy plane.
of an enemy plane. The most challenging time you shot down an enemy plane.
Was it a Zero, or was it a Kate, or what?
The usual deal, when they said there were 18 fighters and 20 bombers coming down, we would climb for altitude and take advantage of the time to get the altitude. And the deal was, if you can, shoot the bomber leader down. So we would attack if we had altitude. And a couple times we shot the bomber leader down, and apparently the Japs had a signal when the leader goes down, drop the bombs. And they ended up dropping the bombs on their side of the line twice.
Good tactics. Yeah. I'll ask my own here while somebody else is thinking of one. Did you ever have any connection or time, did you ever have any time that you saw Pappy Boyington, you know, the Black Sheep Squadron? I asked him if he had any connection and had ever met Pappy Boyington, you know, who was the subject of a television series, the Black Sheep Squadron. Pappy Boyington.
And Pappy Boyington and I went to the University of Washington. And I knew him before we both came in, and we entered the military at the same time, and he was a character in the college, and he was a character in the Marine Corps. And he was a very combatant pilot, and he was crazy.
Well, I was going to ask you if there was any insider information. I think we got it, you know. Well, you know, it takes a little bit of craziness and nuts to do what you did too, General Gaylor, all that time and time after time. We wouldn't dare say that, though.
Huh?
No, that's all right, sir. It takes a little craziness in all pilots, I think.
Well, this was real crazy.
Okay. All right. This was real craziness, not just crazy. All
A couple
right.
of times, according to the reports, it had been helped with the Bloody Marys.
Bloody Mary's always helped?
Several Bloody Marys before he took off.
Okay, all right. Well, that was part of being crazy. I guess he can still operate everything. Any questions from the audience?
Yes.
Somewhere here, raise your hand high. Oh, there you go. Sorry.
Hard to see me. I'm standing
Welcome.
up. What was the favorite airplane that you flew, sir, and why? What aircraft did you enjoy flying the most? F-4 Corsair or
Air Force.
Corsair?
No.
Or F-4F Wildcat?
The Grumman.
Grumman, Wildcat.
The Grumman, we had the Grummans at Guadalcanal, and the Corsairs came in when just about were coming into the Guadalcanal when I left it. I had flown the Corsair, but the favorite was the F-4.
Any other questions from the audience? Yes. Okay. What are your recollections about Joe Foss, the eventual governor and Medal of Honor recipient? I asked him his recollections. Dick brought it up about Joe Foss, who was a Medal of Honor recipient and former governor of, I think, South Dakota, maybe. And what were your recollections of him, sir?
He just was a very good friend, and matter of fact, he was my house guest 2 weeks ago, and one of the putting two and two together, Boyington and Foss ended up in a fist fight one day, and they recovered it and became friends. But Joe Foss was a great guy, and he is still a great guy, and fun to be around, and he was a hell of a pilot.
Was he crazy?
Pardon?
Was he crazy?
No.
Just checking. Just want to make sure all Marine aviators weren't crazy. Okay.
No, Boyington stood out.
Boyington stood out, folks. I mean, he was out there by himself. Okay. All right. Any other questions? Yes. Please come up to the mic.
General Gaylor, a retired Air Force myself. What is your son doing in the Air Force at this time?
What is your son doing in the Air Force today? What is your son doing in the Air Force today?
He retired from the Air Force and flies for United, and he lives in Park City, Utah, right, which is near Salt Lake City, flies out of San Francisco and to Korea or China or Tokyo once a week. It is a nonstop, but that commuting is crazy.
Different kind of crazy. Flying United, different kind of crazy. Okay, any other questions? Yes.
You didn't take your question far enough, Alan. I want to know if he watched the TV show.
Oh, which one? Black Sheep
Yeah.
Squadron? Did you watch Black Sheep Squadron, the program with Pappy Boyington?
Well, I know what about, but I didn't watch it.
Okay. He knew all he needed to know about Pappy, I guess, right? Okay. Any other questions?
There is a book called The Black Sheep Squadron. It's a relatively new book, and it reiterates the subject that he was crazy.
Well, we can attest to that at this point, right? General Gaylor, it appears we do not have any other questions. Would you have any closing comments you'd like to make, sir?
No, I think all of you are doing a real good job helping educate the young people and bring them up to think that America is the greatest country on earth.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I'll get back to the final closing. All right. Speaking of children, we have 4 young people here. I'd like you to stand. You're from the Terrell Christian Academy, is that correct? Well, we welcome you, and we are very grateful that you're here to hear firsthand this very patriotic story. Thank you for coming in from Terrell. Thank you. We have one elected official that came a long way, Judge Gossam from Wichita Falls, Wichita County. He's here for our briefing at 3 o'clock also. Okay, we got something at 3 o'clock. It's right around the corner there and down in the director's conference room. Jay Vargas is going to be there to talk to you about any national policy issues from the VA, to hear your input that he needs to take back to Secretary Principi. Just a general discussion. It's very informal. I know a lot of you are here specifically because of that, but came to the forum also. That'll start at 3 o'clock, director's conference room. That'll last an hour. He has to get back out and get on a plane. There's a couple of shots here that I want to take when we finally close the program. I would like all the congressional staffers to come right over here. General Gaylor, I'd like a group picture with our congressional staffer friends and yourself. I'd like you to join that picture, Jay. And I'm going to have a second big shot. All you Marines in the audience, come over here and we'll run you all through with a picture with our 2 Medal of Honor recipients also. So our congressional staffers over here, please. Our Marines in the audience, get organized over here. Somebody take charge of y'all and attending today. What a great honor it is to have you all visit us and to be a part of this program. It's a distinct honor to have such a distinguished, illustrious, famous person like this in the United States military culture to be our guest today and to tell his story in such a human and personal fashion. It's a distinct honor to have our 2nd Medal of Honor recipient guest today. I would like Jay to join General Gaylor on the stage, please, and I would like for you, for the audience, to express their recognition and appreciation for their participation today. Thank you very much.